Network family, welcome back to another Speakers Magazine live interview. If we haven't met yet, my name is Brian Olds and founder and president here at Black Speakers Network. So BSN is absolutely in the building, and you know what time it is. This is our audience. Come through, come through. Got to make sure we are on stage virtually and in person. But listen, I'm super excited. Obviously, we have Pam Perry here, Dr. Pam Perry, Detroit, Michigan, in the building as well. Hello, Pam.
Hey.
And then I am super excited. Of course, if this is your first time joining us, this is our opportunity to bring Speakers Magazine to life. Proud partnership that we've enjoyed with Black Speakers Network here as the official magazine of BSN. But we always love to have on our cover feature, and today's no exception. So we have decorated veteran, retired Lieutenant Colonel from the United States Air Force, physicist, inspiration, financial motivational speaker, as well as a proud Black Speakers Network member, and featured this month on the cover of the June 2023 edition of Speakers Magazine from Texas. JJ Conway is here. Hello, JJ. I feel like you probably do have a crowd of people just following around, applauding like everywhere you go. Like, I would not be surprised if that was the case.
It's because I bring my own button.
Yes. Oh, JJ, she is so fascinating, Brian. She is the most fascinating background that I have had on Speakers Magazine. And we had a lot of covers, but hers is like a retired lieutenant colonel physicist, like the first. It's just a whole thing. She's writing a book about it, but yeah.
Well, good afternoon, JJ. Welcome back, obviously, to you're no stranger to Black Speakers Network, but congratulations on being featured on the cover this month, and super excited. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, and I got to give a huge shout out to Black Speakers Network, because that's where I got my start into paid professional speaking, as opposed to what I had been doing, which was community and nonprofit community speaking. And so it's definitely been wonderful. And I got to also give a shout out to Speakers Magazine and Pam Perry. I've watched all these other people that I admire and want to be on the cover of Speakers Magazine. And it's my time, y'all. I'm so excited. It's fun because it's the topic that we're talking about today is so important and so relevant in the Black community, and to have it on a national magazine like Speakers, oh my goodness, it makes my heart swell.
Yes. Oh my God, that is, and it is a beautiful power shot, if I must say. I love that. We played with a couple of them, and I was like, this is the one. This is the power shot. This is her signature pose right here. Lieutenant Colonel, physicist, speaker, financial, uh, speaker, mentor. I mean, this one says it all. I just love this. And with Chicago in the background, even though you're from Dallas, but that's where your event is.
Now, are you from Dallas Fort Worth area? Or are you from where you, what do you claim as what do you rep as your city?
As most military people say, home is where you hang your hat. And so I grew up overseas, born in Wilkes-Barre, PA, go Steelers, raised mostly in Japan and Germany. And my husband has a wonderful job teaching in Texas. And so even though my druthers would be on the East Coast where all the action is, I'm discovering that there's a lot of people that need a lot of help and a lot of elevation and empowerment to succeed financially out here in these rural streets.
Real talk. Yeah, I could see that. Were you a military child as well? Like, were your parents in the military? So
Okay,
that's a
right.
strong legacy right there. Then it makes total sense to me that you would come in. Not that you have to, do that if your parents do, but you're kind of born into this environment. So it seems like a natural parlay. But to Pam's point, your experience now is so diverse, like your
Mhm.
background. I imagine, I mean, you came out of the military. You probably could have did any number of things, and I know this issue of Speakers Magazine does an incredible job of telling a small portion of your story. I'm excited to hear that you have a book coming out, because this needs to be, like, sometimes people's life need to be a book, but sometimes I feel like yours is going to be like A&E or like live action. Like, do you know who would you pick out? Like, what celebrity to play you as you like in like a movie? Because I feel like that.
It would have been Alicia Keys because people said I was a dead ringer for her, but I guess I'd have to figure that one out. But the thing is, there's that movie Hidden Figures.
Mhm.
Mhm, mhm.
And during my
Right.
time in the Air Force as a physicist, I saw so many similarities to what those women went through back then and what I experienced. And I would sit there and I kept hitting my couch. They're still doing that. They're still doing that to
Mm.
us. So
Wow.
yes, I think there's a lot of stories that need to be told, and I wish more of them could be told. And that's actually part of why Juneteenth is so important to me, because many of us are so chained to corporations or the government for our income that we are afraid to tell our stories.
Mm.
Mhm, mhm. Sounds like Boyce Watkins up right there, because I was listening to him the other day about, he's one of your speakers at your Juneteenth, this year, Dr. Boyce Watkins. So he said that fear is, I mean, we're free, but we have to be financial free.
That's
And
right.
we have to rely on our own ecosystems, our own economies, support each other. That's why Black Speakers Network is really, really important to build your own ecosystem. And just what you said, you started your speaking career, paid speaking career with BSN.
Hmm.
And eventually, and you're at a paid speaking gig right now, right? I mean, not a paid, but you're at a speaking gig right now, being installed as, NSA officer of the National Speakers Association. So this has been part of your career, and then the Black Speakers Network and Speakers Magazine that features African Americans is part of really helping support and promote that.
I think one of the things that's really powerful about your journey, by the way, right now we're talking about Speakers Magazine. So if you're just tuning in or if you're watching a replay, you can go to speakersmagazine.com. Maybe we could throw that up on the screen. You can read the online issue that JJ is featured in, or any of the past issues as well. And that'll be a great way to continue the conversation. But speakersmagazine.com, and you can check out the online issue. We're going to be previewing it in the next few minutes. But yeah, JJ, one of the things that really strikes me about your story is, I know sometimes as speakers, we feel like sometimes we get almost overly tied to our identity in terms of like what we do as a job. And so
Hmm.
I heard a few weeks ago, like a creator was talking about on TikTok, and she was like, we really need to stop asking children what do they want to be when they grow up, for two reasons. One, whatever they say, that job is probably going to look radically different, by the
Hmm.
time they graduate, if you're talking to like a little kid. And then two, we need to kind of move away from this narrative that people, like, their identity is, tied to your job. And so when I see somebody that you who has accomplished so much across multiple fields, it's kind of inspiring. But I think sometimes speakers, particularly, we struggle to get the um we struggle with that. We struggle with, okay, I spent the last 20 years doing this, so now I have to go speak about this. Did you find any of that tension with you as you were kind of pivoting into the financial arena?
I absolutely did, because the financial arena is super important to me, because of coming home. Many military people have the story. They come home from deployment or they come home from a TDY, military trip, and their spouse has sold their car, their house. They've bought new cars and things using the service person's credit, and then they found a new boo, and so the service person comes home to divorce. And in my case, I came home to a house sold, stuff thrown out, divorce papers, and over $845,000 of debt when the dust settled. And so, for me, the financial empowerment has been very key, because what I had to learn to get out of that debt and create the life that I wanted, which for me, I wanted to be able to retire from the military and be a stay at home mom. And I know for a lot of professional, I had a lot of professional women who did not appreciate that. They're like, you've got all this education and we fought so hard for you to have the access to this. And I'm like, well, I'd like to think you fought so I could have a choice. And my choice is my son's been to 8 schools and I want to be home with my child. And so for the next for the next year, that's my choice. And I have the financial freedom and the flexibility to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to minimize my speakers engagement and I'm going to minimize the working of my business. I'm not going to throw away everything I've worked so hard for, but I'm focusing on that senior year because that's what I worked hard to do. And too many of us are chained to toxic jobs. Too many of us don't have the economic ability to walk away from what's lesser importance and focus on what's of primary importance. But if I hadn't had that financial flexibility, I'm gonna just be real with y'all. If I didn't have that flexibility, my son would be in jail today because we just weathered a couple of real rough years and he needed his mama to be able to have time to focus on and work with him. Well, I wasn't even going to talk about that today, but somebody needed to hear that.
Somebody needed to hear it, right, Pam? Like, I think, that's the reason, that's the exact reason why we do these interviews, is because, I think you get like 2,000 words or something like that in the article, and it's only going to give like a snippet. And what we want, I know Pam's strategic vision is to have people follow along and connect with you on other platforms and start to digest your content, but these are the behind the scenes stories, so I'm 100% for that, JJ. Yeah, Pam, are you muted? Are you can we unmute you? Looks like we can't unmute you. It says cannot unmute guests because they chose to mute themselves. So it might be you or it could be a glitch. Okay, but JJ, I have another kind of question related to that, since we are going into that area, if you don't mind, because you said, I think you said you were $845,000 in debt when you got out of the military, which is like right now, there's this whole national conversation around student loan. I think, many Americans find themselves either living paycheck to paycheck or just
Drowning.
saddled
Yeah.
with like thousands, if not hundreds of $1,000s of debt. Do you have a Cliff Notes version that you could offer for folks that find themselves maybe not in that exact situation, but kind of the recipe to, because I feel like you are knocking on the door of $1 million. And so for most people, I would think that that's almost like, you kind of are looking at like bankruptcy essentially. But like for folks that are in that position, do you have any like quick advice or insights that you could share around like giving them some sense of hope?
Absolutely. And I'd like to touch on the whole issue of bankruptcy because I had several CPAs and even a military lawyer tell me to file bankruptcy, that I was never going to be able to climb out of all that. And so that happened in
Wow.
2009 and I retired in November of 2020. And I was so excited. If it hadn't been for a pandemic, y'all, we would have had a JJ is worth nothing party because as of 1 November 2020, I was worth absolutely zero. I was not worth in the hole anymore. And it's only up from there, right? But
Nice.
but in that situation, it was so dire. But my whole job at the time, being in physics and science, my whole job at the time had the highest levels of clearances. And if I had filed bankruptcy, which is what they always tell us to do, then I would have been trapped in a repeating cycle of poverty that I may never have broken free of. And I couldn't afford to lose the only job I knew how to do. And so that's what pushed me to learn some other things. And one of the things that I did learn, and if you're struggling today and you don't know how you're going to pay the bills, I'm going to tell you, I've got strategies that can help you keep your head above water and stop digging the hole deeper. Because for what you pay that bankruptcy lawyer, you can absolutely get yourself out of debt with sound money financial principles, spending less than you make, even if it means letting some other bills go unpaid. And I help people prioritize what things to pay and what not so they don't get sued, right? And so, it's absolutely can be done. If I can do it, anyone can. And quite frankly, it took me way longer than it needed to because I got all in my feels and refused to pay my ex-husband's bills that had my name on them.
Mm.
If I had done that, it wouldn't have took me so long. But sometimes we just are where we are. And you just have to start where you are until you get a better, higher enlightenment. But the number one thing, and this is what I really want to communicate to especially my sisters out there, the number one thing we have to understand about money is that even though there's a what you do component, you have to have financial management strategies. It's more about who you are. And if you
Mm-hmm.
go back to my Facebook account, which we created in 2009 because we needed it for the military for the particular mission that I had at that time, if you go back to my Facebook account, you would have no idea if I didn't tell you that I was in so much debt. Because in making that commitment to my future and saying, okay, I'm not going to dig this hole any deeper, doors began to open up for me, opportunities for bartering or for free. I mean, I had so many free activities, and I mean, maybe I took a few pictures of it, but most of the time it just fell into my lap. And
Wow.
it was such a beautiful time. And when I work with clients, they don't even believe me until they've been at it about a 2 or 3 month period of really being committed. Not,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm committed today, and then tomorrow, ooh, this hard, I'm not gonna do that. Um, but really being committed, everything starts to open up, and your life is so full that it's like you have no lack. Sometimes it's even more full.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had to be bored. I've never had to worry about taking care of this or that after I got past that first little Christmas, and because I made that commitment. And so it's actually more about our energy than it is about the money. There are
Yes.
people that I work with that come to me that make 300 and 400. I had one guy, y'all, that made $100,000 a month on Amazon, $900 in the bank to his name, because he wouldn't be the person he needed to be to retain the funds he needed to retain.
Come on.
And so
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I have people who are on disability who are financially independent now. So it's
What?
not about what you make. It's not about where you're starting from. It's what you do with it and where you're going.
And the
Listen,
mindset. It sounds like it's really about the mindset too. I was talking with someone today and they said, I don't know if I'll be able to pay this or whatever, whatever. And I said, you don't have a money problem. You have an idea problem. I said, you are so intelligent. You have so much going for yourself. What can you do right now to really make more money? Do you need a sponsor? Do you need to write down a list of the sponsors? I mean, sometimes we're just stuck with like a deer in the headlights and we don't know that we can just really manifest it by really making actions, moving towards that thing and thinking positive about it. Because you think like, oh my God, I can't pay the bills. You're going to shut this off or whatever. What you think about, you bring about. So the more you think about lack, the more lack is going to come. So I really, really believe that, because to stare at a stack of debt of almost $1 million and then to say you've come out of it, you feel like probably superwoman, like I can do anything. But it started with a decision, JJ, that you said that you're going to be teaching about at your Juneteenth legacy. It starts with a decision. So many people are looking for handouts. So many people are looking for the easy way out, and I'm all for reparations and things like that, but don't be waiting for the reparations check. You got to do some other things in the interim.
That's
well, I
right.
think that one of the things that I appreciate your vulnerability and transparency around is, I think being saying that I'm worth nothing should be a flex in 2023. I think that we have this kind of generational culture of like spend and also just kind of looking at one part of the financial picture, which is like how much we make. And this isn't across all circles. It's like, oh, I make six figures. I do this. I make 100,000, 200,000, whatever. But what you make is only one part of the story, to your point, JJ. And so I think we need to not only just do that, but need to like change the narrative around it's not about like looking good, it's actually about being good.
Right,
Hmm.
because it's
Hmm.
your net worth isn't the money that you have in any given moment. It's about how much you own versus how much minus how much you owe. And so how much you own could be a lot. And I teach people how to invest in real estate. And so I hear it a lot from other real estate investor gurus. Oh, I control, they don't even say own. I control 200 doors. Yeah, but what do you own? All you
Mm.
own is $2 million of debt.
Ooh,
And
deep.
it's not, that's part of the problem. That's part of the legacy of Juneteenth. See, Juneteenth isn't, for me, the legacy of Juneteenth isn't just what happened in Texas when the slaves everywhere else were free, but Texan slaves didn't know it for another 2.5 years. That's a symptom of a greater problem that our country has had since the founding. When the Revolutionary War was fought, the Americans and the British both told slaves, fight for us, we'll set you free. Everybody jumped on that bandwagon. They were excited about the opportunity to earn their freedom. The British set theirs free, sent them to Canada, which is where my biological father's family comes from. And Others went to Sierra Leone. Americans went right back to the plantations. They went right
Mhm.
back into slavery. And every step along the way, we have had these kinds of, oh, I'm going to give you something. Oh, we're going to take this back. Oh, we're going to open up colleges so that everybody can go to college now. But on the back end, oh, guess what? We're going to deregulate college loans. So now the banks and the schools and all these institutions can do whatever they want with people. And college loans are siphoning debt out of the Black community faster than we
Yes.
can earn it. And so you look at this give and take, and you see that our nation has this legacy of educating us in ways that keep us bound. And just like
Mhm.
Pam said, it's time that we took responsibility. And the sad part for me is many of us who wanted to take responsibility, who thought we were doing the right thing, just like I did before I got in all that debt, I thought, hey, I worked hard, got me a good scholarship to a good school, Air Force Academy, got me a good government job, good old secure government job. And what did I find out? That was never going to build wealth for me.
Mhm.
Not to
Mm.
say that you can't build wealth on a good government job, but the way I was taught to live my life, the way I was taught to be a consumer, the way I was taught to manage my money was never going to get me where I needed to go. And it contrasts that to the way other cultures work. So we had a thing, I'm going to tell a story real quick. We had a thing in 2013 called sequestration, where the government shut down for a little bit. And
Mhm.
because the government shut down, different agencies handled their budget different ways. And my agency that I worked for at the time, they cut by 20% everybody's pay. So the civilians worked 20% less and they got 20% less money. And my job was to sit down with all of my scientists and engineers and counsel them on being able to make it through this unspecified amount of time without this money coming in that they should have had coming in. Whereas everybody in my home community, in my home church, and in my home neighborhood was freaking out about how are they going to pay their bills. Oh no, what we were going to do. I'm telling y'all, every single one of my scientists who did not look like me, every single one of my scientists and engineers were like, well, I don't know what the big deal is. I've got a 6 to 12 month savings account. Who doesn't have a 6 to 12 month savings account? And I had to keep a straight face talking to them because every single one of them, and they were from different backgrounds all over the country, but they weren't from my background. And to them, it was like, why are we even having this conversation? Why are you wasting my time? I'm fine.
They had
Mhm.
a different
And
conversation. They
we
were
are not
taught
fine.
differently. Mhm.
They had been reared differently. They had been reared to think about money differently. They were reared to put in solid financial principles.
Yes.
Whereas us, a lot of us, especially my ladies out there, as soon as we get somewhere, we get a good job, we get a good paycheck. What are we doing? We're buying everything for everybody else because we feel bad about it.
Mhm.
Look, this is what I wanted to talk about. I wish we could keep you on long because I think this is where the conversation. I know that this conversation is important, and obviously you've planned a number of experiences, resources, events around this. But before we let you go, we got your 5th annual Juneteenth Legacy Conference is coming up June 15th through 17th, I believe. 3-day virtual and in-person experience. And so
Mhm.
could you talk to us a little bit about what folks can expect at that experience? Are we going to be talking about some of this like financial education? I assume so, but give folks an idea of what they can expect, and then maybe we could put up the link for that as well, so that folks can find out more about it.
Absolutely. So with this, we are not going to be teaching you how to put together a budget, but what we are going to do is we are going to educate you on the games, the tricks, the bondage that's played at the workforce, in academia, in industry, and more importantly, we're going to equip you with strategies to what to do about it. Because a lot of times we don't know what we don't know, and what I've been able to do by the grace of the Lord, I've been able to assemble a top notch, power packed cast such as Dr. Boyce Watkins, Dr. Cheryl Wood, Sanithia, Johnny Lynham, Z. Scott, the SEO Queen, Kareem Ellis. These are people who
Mhm.
have found how to make their way without being tied to any organization that would fire them for speaking their mind. And so they are able to authentically explain what happens to people of color in the workforce, what happens to people of color in academia, what happens when you work so hard and somebody else gets the promotion that you deserve. Why are these things happening? Understand that they are happening. And more importantly, what are we going to do about it? What are the strategies to succeed as a business person of color? And so these are the kinds of things that we'll be talking about. And why this conference is so precious to me is a lot of our other conferences don't have the leeway to have these conversations. Too many of us were chained to these toxic jobs with these toxic bosses, and we want to break free, but we need that paycheck. This is going to help you chart a path forward so you can break free of that and begin to take care of yourself, and not only yourself, but your future generations. We're also going to talk about some investing strategies, real estate strategies, multiple streams of income, things like that. So I'm just very, very excited. And we're going to be unveiling a way that you can be a part of Black history. It's
Ah,
going to be good, y'all. You need to go out to JuneteenthLegacy.com and get your tickets.
oh
Yeah,
my God.
definitely grab your ticket. The link is there. Pam, you about to say something? Sorry.
No, that is good. Break free. That's what I'm hearing. What's going to be happening here at JuneteenthLegacy.com. Break free. If you hate your job, if you hate what you're doing, you got to figure, if you want something different, you got to do something different.
That's
So if
right.
you've never been, you need to show up. And I
I
always
know a
say,
lot of the speakers that you've mentioned that are going to be training and educating, and that is a master class lineup of folks. And
right.
and it's not even necessarily all the time about everything that you're going to get from stage, but a lot of times too, being in the room with some of those folks, like, my back of the room, like, hallway game, like, I will get Dr. Boyce Watkins in the corner and ask him like 12 questions before, the end of the day. But I think
Mhm.
you've done an incredible job curating this experience. We know you got to go. So do you have any final thoughts before you head off to get installed as new secretary for your chapter of NSA? Any final thoughts you want to share? Feel free to do so now.
I want to encourage everybody that you can do it. Now, there's that proverb. A lot of us have heard that, they always call it an African proverb when people don't know where to attribute it to. But there's that old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, get together, go together. And I'm
Mm.
encouraging you to go together today, not only with me and my conference and this Juneteenth legacy, this power packed cast of people who genuinely want to pour into you, but also the people that you have with you right here. You've got Brian Olds and Black Speakers Network. You've got Pam Perry and Speakers Magazine. These are avenues that are available to you. Take advantage of them and don't be afraid to pay the price to get in the room.
Mhm. That's good. That is good. Yes, yes.
JJ Conway, ladies and gentlemen,
Mic drop.
JuneTeenthLegacy.com. Thank you so much, JJ. Continue doing what you're doing. Thank you so much again for being a part of the Black Speakers Network community. And congratulations on being featured this month. I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you. And also, I know you've created so many opportunities for BSM members as well. So y'all go check her out, speakersmagazine.com. And JJ, we'll be talking to you soon.
Yes. Thank you, JJ.
Bye.
Congratulations. Alrighty, bye-bye.
All right. So for everybody else, stick with us because we are going to go ahead and dive right in, Pam, to the June 2023 edition of Speakers Magazine. So we could go ahead and pull that
Yeah.
up now because guess what? Just like you said, this cover is awesome. And
It's fire. It is really fire. She is standing there like, we gonna break through. We gonna break free. We gonna break through. You gonna be standing here in your power. So yeah, I like this. JJ knows the way. I mean, she has this cool way, and she helps you win. And she has an acronym for that with money, so you can read the magazine on that. And it's about building wealth together, which she talked about that last proverb. Again, she's a U.S. Air Force lieutenant colonel, lived all over the world, like literally. Physicist, like really a physicist, like for real in the
she's the
US
first
Air Force.
African American physicist in the
Yes,
U.S.
first
Air
African
Force.
American woman. Yes,
First
physicist.
African American woman physicist.
Woman.
Yep. Mhm.
And then the women's wealth mentor. I mean, she has a passion for women. You heard her talk about her story, almost $1 million in debt. And when people divorce, it is really a serious thing. It's not just like, oh, your heart is broken, but hey, your household financially is wrecked. So she talks about that and really has a heart for women who have gone through it. 50% of people who get married get divorced. So she really knows that struggle. And so she's a financial speaker and she speaks on that often. So yeah, that's one of the things. I love this cover. And actually every year she does this event, Juneteenth. So she has reserved Juneteenth again, the June edition for 2024. And it's going to be in Atlanta, just to drop that T on that, right? It'll be in Atlanta
Oh yeah.
next Juneteenth. So, it's gonna be lit.
And this is a hybrid event too. So folks can
Yes,
go online or they can go in person. So that's
yes,
pretty cool.
yes. Yeah, that's
So,
cool. Cool.
so let's jump into the inside of Speakers Magazine because Pam, I know you always got some really great insight and in terms of that. So let's see
Yeah.
what we got.
So this issue is really about financial, and really the whole year has kind of been kicked off. You know, when we had Tara Caressa, and then we had Monique and Dr. Stacia really talk about money and mindset manifestation, sisternomics, just really overflow, those kind of things. And so Dexter, who has been in the magazine a few times as well, and he's speaking at JJ's conference. He has an event that is actually today, but he also has a product on real estate wealth creation. He owns about 15 different properties. He owns about 15 different properties. He buys them, he fix and flips, but he shows people how to actually do that by using other people's money. And basically, if you scan the QR code or if you just go to dexterbjenkins.com, he has a product that really kind of breaks it down, and you don't realize how simple it is. I remember personally when there was my parents passed and they had opportunity I had opportunity to either sell the house or to continue to, rent it out. And I didn't know anything about renting out a house. And so we actually sold it. But if I could have thought about it, I probably could have kept it and then, but I didn't know Dexter back then, right? So I didn't have anybody to ask. But so wealth creation. So now we're really looking at that about buying properties, keeping that income stream going about real estate investment. So anyway, so that is going on dexterbjenkins.com. He was having this event actually going on right now, Juneteenth. Over the last few years, it's an official national holiday, so it's kind of cool. You know, government workers they get the day off, but really people need to dig in about what Juneteenth is all about. Even if you just get a book on Juneteenth and read about the history of Black people or read something about financial freedom or things like that. I posted on my LinkedIn some Juneteenth books to read as well. A good one that is really good is called Professionally Lynched. And JJ talked about that. She said that so many people are really in these jobs that they hate and it's just miserable. They need the paycheck. But also, oftentimes, sometimes you can be in a job where you are really, really qualified, but because of your skin color, they professionally lynch you, meaning like they put you out there and they just roll you under the bus. Or she had a master's degree. She's a principal. She was in the educational system, but Tanya White did not have the opportunity to really live her full potential in her career because of racism. So that's one of the books maybe you could read in Juneteenth. It's called Professionally Lynched. I did a press release for her. She got about 30 comments negatively when people were saying, "You all have been free for 150 years. Why can't you get your life together? Oh, you're just playing the victim role." Da, da, da. These are people that have no idea about systemic racism or what the impact is for generations. So Juneteenth is a holiday, so we can have these conversations, so people could bust through and actually understand each other, and then realize how we need to solve this problem because the
Yep.
wealth disparity is huge
It
between Black
is. I would love to. I ran across a snippet about Juneteenth, just like a abbreviated history that I would love to share, um, just so that we can kind of add to
Yes.
that. And then, Pam, if you could put that book in the chat, and maybe we can
Okay.
put that up, Monet, too, when as we're going through this. But this came from the Smithsonian, obviously the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, which is in Washington D.C.,
Mhm.
right down the street from me. But they have an incredible it's a free resource everybody can go on, and an interactive online exhibit where you can go in and read more about Juneteenth as well. But essentially, so January 1st, 1863 is when the Emancipation Proclamation took effect. But a lot of people, I think, have the misconception that January 1st, just because the slaves were free, that instantly across the country, uh, everyone was free, and obviously that was not the case. And so, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was made effective in 1863, it couldn't be implemented in places still under Confederate control. And one of those places, of course, was the state of Texas.
Mm.
So, enslaved people would not actually be free until much later. And so, on June 19th, 1865, it wasn't until the Union sent 2,000 troops to Galveston Bay, Texas.
Galveston.
And then the Army announced that the 250,000 enslaved Black people in the state were actually to be set free that day by executive decree. And so often now we see this now, even to this day. Just because a law goes into effect doesn't mean it's like just instantly applied, particularly, right after a massive dispute, or in this case a civil war, more than a dispute. So
Mhm.
so that is the reason that the day became known as Juneteenth. And this term, this phrase, that the day was adopted by the newly freed, enslaved people in Texas specifically. And so this kind of is how Juneteenth became marked as really our second Independence Day, in a sense,
Yes.
because Independence Day, July 4th, goes
Or
back much further, but everybody in
Black
everybody
people
was
weren't
not
free.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That
uh
wasn't our
really,
Independence Day,
really
right?
incredible if you want to go and look at it. But I
Mhm.
agree with you, Pam. Like, we do need to, like, if we don't study history, you're going to be doing to repeat it for sure.
Yeah. And don't get caught up in the commercialism of it. And that's the other thing. I mean, people have Juneteenth sales, they got Juneteenth cupcakes. Da, da. I mean, that's like people will commercialize anything. Like really but find the real reason for the holiday. What is it really, really about? So thank you, Brian. That is so important. That is so important.
And
Okay,
then
yeah. Posting the link there. Yeah. Because it really is. The book is called Professionally Lynched and revealing system-wide workplace injustice and healing from a lifelong of trauma
mhm.
it causes everyone, and it's by Tanya White. And people say, "Well, what is a trauma?" You got to be black to understand the trauma. Like, you just got to understand. I mean, this woman has 2 master's degree, all these certifications, and time after time, because of the color of her skin, she's left out of things. It's the memos. It's a whole thing, and it's not just workplace politics because it didn't happen for her other colleagues that were white. So
Mhm.
and it's so when you get together and you really share the stories, you'll understand that it's not just you, that it is a systemic thing. It's in the system. So yeah, it's really, really good. So yeah, Juneteenth. This I mean, we're becoming more clear about our mission, Brian, both of us, Black Speakers Network, and just really becoming the whole movement of it, and just really trying to help people move forward, understand. My podcast, Get Out There, Get Known. If you realize it's red, black, and green, which is not really Juneteenth colors. Juneteenth colors are red, white, and blue, but red, black, and green obviously kind of like symbolize for Black people the African continent colors. So my podcast really features those media, Black media outlets, or those who Black publicists that show and share stories on how to get out there and get known. And that's really what it is. So every week I do Get Out There, Get Known. Ready, Set, Go, Speak is again just a program. If you're just starting out speaking and it's like, I don't really know where to go, I teach about the marketing side of speaking, not actually physically how to speak, but the marketing side is primarily PR. So that's it. Ready, Set, Go, Speak. So those are like the two things that we uh, kind of try to equip Black speakers with, so that they
Mhm.
always win. Hmm.
And then on the next page, I know we got From the Desk of the Publisher. So
Yeah,
talking a little
yeah.
bit more about the Juneteenth event, and then unleashing success and generational wealth.
Yes, that is really the key. I met actually JJ, so that you kind of can know that through Faithpreneur, Dr. Stacy NC Grant. And so
Hey.
that was the picture on the limo that we were in. We were being shuffled back and forth. She was one of the speakers there. And so I
Okay.
met her last year there. And we just really hit it off because she is for the few minutes you heard her just speaking, she is really powerful. So this really just talks about what generational wealth. It's not just a term that we're throwing around, but really just talking about what it is, what is the goal, what is the journey and the mission of that. And then some of the speakers she mentioned who will actually be live. Ina Johnson Myers. We've got Dr. Cheryl Wood, obviously. Those are the ones. But then we have other people as well that are Dr. Stephanie Shannon. So it really talks about the other people that'll be live there as well. It's an intimate one live in person, but the virtual one you can have. And a lot of we did a call for speakers, and I think you did too. And a lot of the BSM members are speaking at the virtual event. So that's really, really cool. So we're building our own ecosystem on this, right? Like just really, I just love this. I love this. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, BSN absolutely be in the building. Speaking at
yes,
an event where we do a monthly celebration now of speakers. So even for BSN members who aren't speaking at a event that they secured through BSN or events that they are that BSN hosts, we still want to acknowledge and celebrate where BSN members are showing up globally.
Yes.
So super excited. So that'll probably come out next month, since it's this month, and we'll be
Right.
able to see all the folks that participated. So
Yeah, I think it's
super.
about 10.
Yeah, yeah, it's
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 about
up there.
10.
So I
Yeah.
love that, and that's the reason that we're here. And then I see we got Doctor. Is it Carwana D?
Dr. Kawana D, and
Okay.
she's another one. She's the wealth, she talks about wealth strategy, the government contract whisperer. So she has really cracked the code on how to get government contracts. So a lot of entrepreneurs are just struggling, and she tells her story that she was working like 60 hours a week, and then it net out to like $30,000 a year, right? And in her business. And so finally she had a contract with a gentleman who was doing really, really well. He was making a lot of money. And she was like, "How are you doing so well?" She says, "You started after me." And he says, "I have a government contract." She said, "You can do the same." So at that point, she started her government contract and she's making millions. Now, when people are in that space, what she's found now is that she really loves teaching other people how to do it as well. So she has a government contract challenge that she does, shows people how to really leverage government contracting. And with you being in the DC area, you probably know that a lot of people make money off of government contracting. And so she really shows people how to show up in position and how to really get those contracts. So that is Dr. Kawana D. So
Yeah.
she's really, really like I said, she was on Earn Your Leisure. This is just really, really quick. So they're in the magazine and she also is going to be in Fox Soul. So I take these pictures, these pages of the magazine, and I share them out to other media outlets as well. So she's going to be on Fox Soul on June 19th, talking about this, about government contract whispers and really helping African Americans understand how to, they've been left out of the space for a long time. It's like we're getting in there. So that's really, really cool. I really, really like how it all kind of folds together, and her main thing is to really help women, and really Black women especially, how to get out of the cycle of being an entrepreneur and not really making any money. And they say, "Oh, you can't make any money for 5 years or whatever," but she's saying, "Hey, you can really, in so many weeks you can really earn a government contract and then set everything straight." So yeah, that was enlightening to me. So all these issues too, I learned a whole lot about real estate, government contracts. I'm like, okay, I'm just like,
Hmm.
I need to learn some different things. So you're never too old to learn and to change. That's the thing. You can learn it, but do you activate? So that's the main thing. I'm activating on what I'm learning.
Exactly. I think the government contracting space is something that we really need to dive into. But
Yeah.
I was just at the state of Maryland. They hosted the 37th annual awards event here, put on by the SBA. And
Oh yeah.
so they recognize and celebrate on small business, not just minority small business, but all small businesses. But there were several small business, like minority owned small business, recognized as a part of that.
That's a
And
big
I
deal.
think to folks's point, or to the point I think Dr. Carwana is talking about too, with women, people of color, aka minorities, and veterans, you have a built-in strategic advantage in these spaces because of
Mhm.
the supplier diversity requirements that a lot of
Yes.
these government contracts have. And so not only is it a lot of money, but just doing, and I know a lot of people are intimidated by it because you do have to have your stuff together. Like you can't
Mhm.
just come in there and say, hey, I want to come in and do training. Like you have to put together your capability statement. You have to get
Mhm.
minority certified. But once you
Yes.
go through those processes, then you are at a competitive advantage as a Black owned, women owned,
Better.
veteran owned
Mhm.
entity. Even if you're a one person show, you can come in and do these things. And it's the only place where you have that type of advantage, because the government is saying a certain percentage of this money has to go to you. And if you don't feel it, somebody else, would. And so I think we really need to pay attention to
Yeah.
that as Black entrepreneurs overall. And then on top of that, I think the financial piece that sometimes gets overlooked is that, if you have one of these government contracts, people are like, well, the government pays slow, which obviously they do. Like everybody knows that. However, from a finance perspective, I wish JJ was still here for this, but if you have a secured government contract, there's nothing stopping you from going out and getting a line of credit,
Yeah, because
from
you have that receivable. You have an accounts receivable that you know that's coming in. Yeah.
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 So if you have a $200,000 contract and you could take that to, credit
Yes.
union, wherever, like
Yes.
you're going to get money. So
Yes.
I think this is a place we really need to tap into. So
Yes.
I'll probably
And
reach out to her to see if she can come to speak in BSN too.
she would love that. Oh my gosh, she would love that. I'll make sure that that happens. And also, too, Dr. Stacey NC Grant talks about that as well. So, like what you just said, even if you're a one person, thing, you're women owned, you're black owned, you're minority owned, and that you have an opportunity to get a contract for 250,000, and you can't do it all. That's when you bring in other people that can actually help you with deliver the goods to on that contract. So that's
Mhm.
where she teaches you how to really build that team. So it's a win-win for everybody. I just love it. I mean, when some of the stories she told me, I was like, what? There was a contract for that? So yeah, it's not just federal, but it's local. It's, in between states. So yes, yes. So that's good. I definitely will have that. But yeah, she's a contract whisperer. I mean, she's helped over about 300 different entrepreneurs become millionaires, first,
Mm.
millionaires with these government contracts. So yeah, she's been doing
Listen,
that.
let's secure the bag. Listen.
Yes, yes, that's it. Reparations are great. We can wait for those checks, but in the meantime, let's get these government contracts.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that could be your reparation. Wow,
And then
for
on
real.
the next page, I know we got Dr. Gail James.
Yes, Dr. Gail James. She's a therapist, speaker, pastor, and an author. Again, she's one of the ones that we talked about trauma a little bit about African American trauma, just generally. And sometimes people, if we don't talk about it, we think we're the only one. But she really talks to, especially women, about how to really break out of any kind of psychological barriers to move forward, to break free. So Juneteenth is about being free. It's like break free now. It's like I know people who are north of 60 who are still dealing with things from their childhood. It's like, okay, it's time out. There is help available. Just hit her up. Okay. Have a conversation. Don't stay stuck and don't stay prideful. So that's one of the things too. She has so many things where she's encouraging, she's uplifting, she's mentoring women, and she also has a home sweet home where she does home health care as well in the US Virgin Islands and in Jacksonville. So she's a entrepreneur as well. So yeah, she's this one
That's
of the things, the theme of this.
that's
And
I just
Mhm.
want to add in that note there with mental health, because May was of course like Mental Health Awareness Month, and
Yes.
then BSN we of course had our Black Mental Health Summit, and so, or speaker series I should say,
Mhm.
and the feedback from that was just really crazy because I think sometimes I'm always wondering, like, hey, are we talking about this enough or are we talking about it too little? Like, I don't know, like the balance. And it was like very eye-opening to me that there are still so many topics that while we are embracing therapy more, I
Yes.
think there's
Just
still so many
recently.
topics like that we just don't get touched on. And so if anybody's interested in going back and checking that out, I'll drop the link on the screen.
Yes.
But basically, that entire series is available for free for anybody to go back and check out, because mental health continues to be one of these things. Even though May was Mental Health Month, it's a year-long conversation, so I
Yeah.
want to make sure that folks can check that out. So if you go to
Yeah.
blackspeakersnetwork.com and click on events, or just go to that link, you'll be able to watch both days. We had over 66 speakers featured there,
Wow.
and
Oh
I
my
think most of them were either licensed clinical, like they were professionally either working in the space or somehow serving as mental health advocates. But people like Dr. Gail James, she's doing important work. And I also noticed that she's a pastor. And that was another piece that was another thread that kind of get pulled on a lot there, because sometimes I feel like it's either one or the other, and people don't recognize, like, yo, you can believe in God and still go to therapy. Like, it's fine.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
glad that we have people like her in the space.
Yes, and then also too, Dr. Mary, as well. She has I Level Up Consulting. She does, um, it's an integrated behavioral health services, in South Carolina. And one of the things, she's an organizational psychologist, a life strategist, all these things again that really helps people understand human behavior, the dynamics, communication, just really deepen their self-awareness. It's really, really important. She published a book, Epic Reign, The Era of Resilience. And so she really, really talks to people about any adversity that they have, how to move beyond it, how to win. Again, she's a mental health professional, Mary Canty Merrill. Yeah, that's it, Mary Merrill. That would be hard to say. So
Yeah.
marycantymerrill.com is where you find her. Mary Merrill. Yeah, that is that. No wonder that Canty is in there. But you
Uh-huh.
can follow her. But really, she's a doctor. She talks really about, you know, helping people accept the life cycles that they're in, and just, and I think social media, in terms of, just, I'm not a mental health professional, I think social media has made people a lot crazy, not just in terms of the time they spend on it, but just the times of how it makes them feel. I think we'll find out what the real effects of it probably 10 years from now, or maybe another generation, but it's so much that is coming at people so fast, and they feel like that they have to compare themselves, or maybe there's so much, like I did with Tanya White's book. I mean, so many people just come at her and come after her and just, tear you down. It's easy to put out a tweet or whatever. So yeah, I think mental health is not a topic we don't talk enough about it. So people need real help. So these two ladies, definitely doctors trained, can help you. Or even come and speak to an organization about mental health issues, so that people will know and not feel like, oh, I don't need to talk about that. No, you do. You really,
Absolutely.
yeah, you do.
And
And
then
so
on the next
finish with,
page, I agree with that 100%. And I know the next page we have our cover feature,
yes,
JJ Conway,
yes, and her
Lady in
videos are
Red.
in there as well. There's a
Who?
video
What
in
is?
there with her and Dr.
Uh,
George Frazier.
okay. Yep.
Because she'll be speaking at PNC, she'll be speaking at Power Networking. So Dr. George Frazier interviewed her about what she'll be talking about at Power Networking, which is, George Frazier's Uncle George, right? He did the forward for our book over here, and he was one of the first covers. So this is one of the things where the forward was with Dr. George Frazier. So that video talks about her and George. I think they talk about 30 minutes or so. And the other video is just a video of JJ doing JJ. I mean, really talking about financial, and telling her story and that kind of thing. So yeah, so you want to make sure that you're doing that. And then, like I said, a lot of the information is juneteenthlegacy.com. If you want to speak at it next year, you go there and you can sign up and get the notification for that as well.
Now the thing that I really like, and by the way, for folks still listening, or jumping in the middle, we're looking at Speakers Magazine. You can check out this issue at speakersmagazine.com. And this is all virtual. There are print copies available for folks at the
Yeah.
events, but generally speaking, everything that we're talking about here is online. Those embedded videos are there, and that's really one of the
Yes.
benefits of the having the online issue as well, that I really really like. So
Mhm.
make sure you go to speakersmagazine.com and check it out. And you could view this issue or any of the past issues. Pam, by the way, didn't you just celebrate like 7 years?
Yes, 7 years would be this next month. Will be next month, because that was George Frazier on the cover. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
give yourself a
yes.
round. Hit the applause button for yourself. So on the next page, I think this is just a continuation of
Mhm.
June,
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth. Okay,
Yeah.
so um, that's the like an additional ad for
Mhm.
the event.
Yeah, so people will know, like, who we're talking about. We're talking about Dr. Boyce, Dr. Cheryl, Cynthia, and obviously JJ as well. But it's just, again, that's the official Juneteenth logo, Juneteenth Legacy logo. It's not just because she's in the U.S. Air Force that she uses red, white, and blue. The colors are red, white, and blue. And I told her, I said, it reminds me of something, Texas has a logo very similar to that. But anyway, so that is
Yeah.
that. Dr. Rhonda Glover, I just interviewed her last week. She's a retired FBI for 35 years, one of the first African American women to really be in that space. 34 years retired from the FBI. So, and you talk about someone to pivot. I mean, she didn't tell me her age, but if you've been somewhere 34 years and you probably had to come out of college and go there, you can do the math. She looks really, really great. So what she does, she's a coach and a mentor, and she really teaches those who want to go into law enforcement how to navigate the system, how to get in, and how to get promoted. I
Mm,
just thought that was such a great thing. And she also teaches, her and her husband, who's in the military, they teach active shooting seminars or sessions for churches and schools. So that's a thing now. So many people need to know, if you have an active shooter, what do you do? And so her and her husband, they do training for that to know schools and churches. Who would have
Yeah.
thought, right?
It's scary, but it's a reality.
It's a reality, and it's happening so often. So, her main thing is like her experience of what to do and really training people to stay safe is really, really important. So I really love what she's doing. She also is an author. She wrote a book called Dear Fear: Powerful Lessons for Living Your Best Life on the Other Side of Fear. So anyway, just check out RhondaMGlover.com. She is amazing. When I tell you she's amazing. And one of the things that I told her when I interviewed her, I said, I know when you're in the FBI, you didn't speak a lot because you can't talk about your cases, you can't talk about your work, you can't talk to the media openly, but she was so smooth. She was so smooth. And she said what happened was that she realized when she was at work, she was moving up the ladder. And then as you become a leader, you have to speak. She said when she had to speak in front of her team, she was so nervous. She was sweating. She was like, oh my God, she said, I have a problem. And she went to Toastmasters.
Yep.
And when I tell you she is so good, she said she went to Toastmasters, she did all the things, she studied, all that kind of thing. So yeah. So when you find you have a problem with public speaking, it's like, don't stay stuck. Like she didn't stay stuck. Now she's a keynote speaker, international keynote speaker, and coaching and mentoring other people. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
early in her career. She realized that I needed to do something about this.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think people, and we can go to the next page as we transition, but a lot of people really, really sleep on Toastmasters. And I am just Toastmasters to me, like everybody in BSN, I encourage Toastmasters because that is the place where you go to cut your teeth. Like, where else
Yeah.
can you get like a safe environment where you could practice the art of speaking? You're getting feedback. Every speech
Hmm.
is evaluated. Even if you're not speaking in Toastmasters, you actually become a better speaker because even if you're evaluating somebody else's presentation, you still are
Yeah.
sharpening your tool of resources. And in addition to that, you have to do it in a short time frame. So you can't just get up there and talk forever. Like they put you in an environment where you are forced to really become succinct and just craft a message in a way that's going to be received really well. And it's Toastmasters is like $60 a year or something like that. So it's not
And you
cost
get a
prohibitive.
magazine and all that stuff. Yeah. One of the things that I like the table talk topics, I believe it is table topics. That was always my thing I liked. But one of the things that was the most helpful for me when I went through Toastmasters was counting the ums.
Yep.
Counting them ums. I was like, oh my God, how many ums am I saying? Once somebody brings it to your attention, you stop. There's another filler word that people have as well, and I do media training. I do media training, so I was saying ums when I'm doing the speech. But there's another word that people always say in their uh, speeches or talks, especially virtual. They'll go right, da da da, right, and they're saying it so often it punctuates everything. It's a filler word. It's just enough just to be quiet. You don't have to say right. And when I realized that, and I told that to different speakers, and they've been speaking for a platform, they says, no one ever told me that. Toastmasters.
Exactly. It'll get you right. It will absolutely get you
Yeah.
right. My big filler word is like everything, like like this, like it's everybody has these things and they're so what's the word?
Embedded,
Insidious.
embedded, and they're so subliminal of you're just saying them and you don't even realize it. Mine is, actually. And
So
Mark realized that. He says, you say that word "actually" a lot." I said, "Because it's long and it gives me time."
filler, like you said, it's filler.
Actually.
So we got Sandra
Sandra
Kaiser.
Kaiser. Yes,
Kaiser.
Sandra
Okay.
Kaiser, she actually is a writer, and she is an Alzheimer's, advocate, and such a small world. I went to an event, the, Real Estate Expo last Saturday, and she's in Florida, and I ran into her sister-in-law, and her sister-in-law lives in Detroit, and her sister-in-law told Sandra told her sister-in-law, "You need to be at this event. You've got to meet Pam Perry. She has this event called Real Estate Biz Expo." He says, "And you've got to go." And so I actually handed her the magazine. I said, "Your sister-in-law's in this magazine." She says, "I know." She said, "I didn't get it. It had just come out, right? It was like June 3rd." So it's such a small world and an ecosystem. So me and her friend talked, and we kind of knew the same people, obviously being from Detroit or whatever. But that's what the power of being in a magazine. You're sharing it, you're spreading the word, you're letting people know what you do. They may know you, but they don't know you like that. right? Like they don't know that, oh, I didn't know you were Alzheimer's advocate, that she speaks on Alzheimer's, she has books. So it's a way to really let people know. And YB, oh my God, I interviewed YB. It's going to be up on the site soon. I think his link is in there. But he is a LinkedIn locksmith. And you know, we met YB, at least I met YB through you, right? That was what, 3 or 4 years ago at the Power Networking Conference.
That was 20, that might have been 2017. That might have been before I even yeah, I think that was before I even left, to
Yeah,
start BSN full time. So yeah,
right.
that might have been 2017, 2018, actually.
Yes, yes. And he has written a book and he talks about collaboration and currency and those kind of things. He's a real deal when it comes to that. And so he just recently celebrated his freedom as well. And he's full time doing his book thing, doing a book tour. He's got the goods. You know, it's one of the things where he probably should get that book that we talked about earlier. But a lot of entrepreneurs they call it quiet quitting. Sometimes it's not quiet. Sometimes you just quit. It's just like, you know what, it's time. I gotta get out of here. Peace. I'm out, and do the thing because he already has the juice. So if you don't know Robert YB Youngblood, you need to get to know him. He will get you right when it comes to really developing relationships, connections, and really getting your LinkedIn
Well, I
together.
think the thing I love about YB, which he definitely loves to go by YB, he was like, only my mom calls me Robert. Like, don't call him Robert.
I
Like,
know,
call him
don't call him
Rob or
Robert.
YB. But he actually, so I spent some time with YB a few times. We hung out. He's from Richmond.
Rich.
So I've
Mhm.
done events in Richmond 2019, and he's in the Speak Up book as well. He talks about connection. So he his big thing, even though he's known as the LinkedIn locksmith, he
Mhm.
is really, when it comes to building, I think sometimes most entrepreneurs or professionals in general, we struggle with managing a high volume network of people. Like when you start getting above, how Facebook only lets you have like 5,000 friends, like that's kind of for a reason. Like most people, like even Facebook knows that if you get kind of above that number, these are not all your friends. Like
Right.
you're probably building a business or building a brand. And so, and YB is so good at showing entrepreneurs how to strategically curate not just relationships, but the right relationships. And so
Mm,
I've learned so
mhm.
much from him.
Yeah.
And we were just in Richmond a few weeks ago at the
Mm,
Keisha Williams event. And I,
yeah.
I I drove down there and he delivered a presentation. It was one of the top 10 trainings I've ever had an opportunity to hear in my life. And he is
Wow.
such an incredible, I want to just say speaker. He's a really, really effective trainer.
Yes.
And the way he kind of builds this sense of relatability, the way he is able to use humor, but also make sure that there's a point connected to each of those. It is literally like one of the most impressive presentations I've had an opportunity to. Man, maybe I haven't been going to a lot of events lately too, but like YB
He is good.
crushed
No,
it,
he is
crushed it,
good.
and he's
He's
a
one.
BSN member too. But
Yes, yes, he
I
is.
was just blown away.
Yes. So read his story in this book as well, and then get his other book as well. So he's in here as well. So he talks about currency and really collaboration. So that's one of the things you want to make sure that you do. And then really the last few pages, let's go really quick here. We're like a little over time.
Yeah, the
Uh
last brand
yeah,
PR service, quick media
yeah.
coverage.
Yep, quick media coverage. That has been really, really, people have been jumping on that and getting PR. I was talking with someone today that says, I am everywhere now. I said, yep, that was a prop. That was the thing. It says, tell us and we'll tell the world. And everybody will be saying, I see you everywhere. So that's one of the promises. I know that that's what will happen. So they've been in CEO Weekly. They've been in, like I said, Dr. Kawana is going to be on Fox Soul. We've been in the Wall Street Times. I mean, just there are just ways where we're telling your story to help position you. So that's one of the things I just really, really love this. It's been what I want to say, one of the most gratifying things I've done in my career over 20 years, because I know that it's a very affordable way to get PR, guaranteed PR. People love it. It is very manageable for us to scale it because I have a team of writers. The media outlets just basically guarantee the coverage. It's just wonderful. It's like sliced bread. I just love it. Faithpreneur is coming up. She's August 6th. 16th through the 19th. Dr. Stacy NC Grant. You know, I love, love, love me some Dr. Stacy NC Grant. So that'll be a weekend experience. We'll be heading there. Speakers Magazine will be on the scene for that. I'm sure JJ will probably be there. But really it talks about how to combine your faith with your work, you know, making sure that you are uh, an entrepreneur, but also have God in your life. So you have the guidance from God to really be profitable. So God wants you to profit. This is a conference that you need to really be fed and learn about government contracts and all those kind of things. It's great. And then the last one is coming up in your area. Turn the page, Monet. This is the stage domination. So this is like the one that is coming up July 12th in the DC area. You can go to stagedomination.com. You want to be in the room. You got Gloria Mayfield Banks. You've got Dr. Cheryl, Lisa Nichols, and Trent Shelton. It's going to be powerful. She says, you know, it's training and you get to meet people who will really give you the insider secrets on what it really takes to succeed and slay in the speaking space. So many people are like, I don't know how to do it. Yeah, you need to show up. That's the things. Those will show up, go up. So
Yeah,
that's it.
and
That's
that
what we do.
that
Mhm.
event will sell out. So if you're planning, because everybody, I've had 20 conversations about this event in the last like 2 weeks. So like, if you have not gotten your ticket, if you're thinking like, oh, I'll just get it the weekend before,
Don't sleep
that's
on it. Oh
that's
my
not going
God.
to happen because this event will be out. Yeah, it's virtual too, so you can get a virtual ticket
Yeah.
whenever you want. But the
Yeah.
in person, this will sell out. So if
That's the thing, you need to be there in person. So Letitia Nicole will be with me as well. Will Speakers Magazine will be on the scene for that as well. So we want to make sure that people understand that if you're serious, I mean, you talk about you want to speak. If you're serious, just show up and meet other people. Meet Brian, meet me. You know, it's one thing to be online, but you know, meet us in person. You know, feel our energy.
yeah, I won't be at this particular event, but yes,
Well,
meet us in person. No, I'm not going to be
it's in
there.
your area, but you'll
I'm gonna
you'll
send energy. I'm sending like we have a lot of BSN people there.
good. Okay.
So we'll have surrogates, if you will.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. Pam, do you have any final thoughts? We did run a little over, but I was so happy that JJ was able
No.
to catch
Yes,
up with us for a
no,
little bit.
this is it. I love the themes of where we're going with everything. So this is really, really good. The month of July, you know, we usually have the back, whoever's on the back, like May was Dr. Stacia, and then on the back was JJ, and then the cover of June was JJ, and then the back is Cheryl. So stay tuned. It's going to be on the cover for July. It's the first time we've ever done anything like this. So it'll be
Yeah.
cool. So that'll be July issue.
And if we have folks that want to get into Speakers Magazine, obviously we just previewed some speakers. And so if that is you and you're looking to increase your visibility, you could go to speakersmagazine.com/get featured, and that will give you all the information that you need to get booked. I think you're probably is July full, or are we looking at August and
I got a
September?
couple of spaces for July. Couple of
Okay.
spaces left for July. If not, some of Cheryl's speakers will be going in sliding those slots. But July will be a good issue to get in. I'm telling you, because that's going to be the one that's stage domination.
All right,
I'm just
so I
saying.
love to feature y'all in July. I know we got a lot of folks around Black Speakers Network that need to be in this. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is
Do you
it.
want me? Do you have books you want me to take to stage domination?
We can talk about it, but
Okay. Yeah.
but to everybody watching and checking out the replay, thanks again for joining us again. Pam, I appreciate you. Incredible partnership, 7 years in the making. Speakers Magazine
Yes.
is here.
Yes.
Incredible resource for speakers, authors, leaders, and yeah, we'll be back next month. And then, as we say here in Black Speakers Network, keep speaking up. Your audience awaits, and we will see y'all on stage. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.